Welcome, welcome, welcome to today's interview with the beautiful Laurie Handlers. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So I'm going to introduce Laurie in a second. I'm going to start with a short story. Years ago, when I first started my business, I started doing some market research by doing interviews with women. I interviewed a woman who had owned a bra shop in Cherry Creek in Denver, Colorado for over 50 years. And I asked her, all the women, and her response was one of my favorites. I asked them, what is the number one thing you'd say to all women who are reinventing themselves? And she said, women need women. And that story came to me this morning, Laurie, when I was thinking about our interview today. And so I would love your perspective because I met Laurie in a women's group. It's a business incubator, and it's all, high level women doing great work in the world in all sorts of different ways. And I think it's a really neat thing that we met through a women's group. So I'm curious if you introduce yourself and then maybe tell me what your thoughts are on this idea that women need women.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, introduce myself. I've been practicing sacred sexuality for 25 years and teaching. I am a best-selling author of two books. As my husband likes to say, I literally wrote the book on sex and happiness, but I actually wrote two. They're both called Sex and Happiness. One is the Tantric Laws of Intimacy, and that my first book. And then I wrote a book called Sex and Happiness. It gets better with age. And so I'm here to tell you that that's true. It doesn't have to be the way the cultural narrative has scripted for us. Let's see. I work with singles and couples. I teach classes all over the world. I'm a speaker. And I've had a podcast for 15 years. So
Ah,
there's a lot. I just really, oh, I'm a newlywed. I waited until I was 75 or six to get married, engaged and married. I waited very long. Most people did that in their 20s.
okay,
So,
so let's go. So Laura, you look
yeah.
amazing. You probably get this all the time. Um, so you just said you got married at 75 or six. So uh uh that's amazing.
Yeah, I got married actually at 75.
75. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Congratulations.
thank you.
Are you having a good time, newlywed?
I am.
I bet.
I am. I met
Cool.
someone who meets me. I mean, it took a really long time to meet somebody who actually meets me. But wait, you asked about what do women have to do with supporting women. So I don't want to skip over that.
Yeah.
So I got my sanity back in the 70s through working in women's groups, both attending women's groups as part of the women's movement and then running women's groups, women's support groups. I had an anger issue that I couldn't understand. Like that nothing in my background added up to why I was so angry, but being in women's groups helped me uncover some of the reasoning why and also helped me cope with that. And I have found that women have been my really strongest allies throughout the years. I have best friends. I have friends that were, I have 50-year friendships with women I wouldn't consider my life without.
Wow.
And say everything to each other. We don't hold back. We like literally say everything. I'm the kind of person that, I mean, aside from consciousness raising and things that were going on in the 70s, I also wouldn't let you walk out of your house in a terrible dress. Like I would tell you if a dress looked bad on you. I've called friends and said, throw that out. Or listen,
Yeah, we call that our ride or die.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
wouldn't let somebody go out looking badly or feeling badly about themselves for one reason or another. But I mean, I would run up to a stranger, to a woman, and say, you're in the airport and you have toilet paper stuck to your shoes. Like, I wouldn't let anybody, if I see it, I'm calling it out and I'm saying, I would want someone to do the same for me. And my friends do that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That,
And that's actually how I feel about the Dames, the group that we're part of.
yeah.
Like I have made such wonderful relationships and I feel like my business is growing, starting to scale, it's thriving because of the contacts that I've made in the Dames. So,
That's so beautiful.
yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
I love this. Look at you. You're just thriving. So let's talk about this whole idea of sex and happiness. A lot of my community are women. So I love that you gave us some perspective there. And a lot of my community, they're also business owners, entrepreneurs, visionaries, creatives. So I'm curious in terms of happiness, it's so unique to each person, but can you link, sex and happiness and then maybe even how it relates to like success and career?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
can link it all. So if we go by the chakra system, which is part of uh, a Hindu and Sanskrit system for the areas of the body, the sex center, or it's called the sacral center, uh, is the center of not only pleasure and pain and the memories of pleasure and pain, but it's also the center of creativity. Like that's literally where we create life. And if we're blocked there, and interestingly enough, if we're blocked here in the throat, they somehow mirror each other.
Yeah.
So if our sex is blocked, if we say, I don't need that, I don't need anybody, I don't I don't touch myself, I don't need pleasure, and we're in some denial about that, and like we work, 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 work all the time, then our center of creativity is blocked. And when it's blocked, when we're not expressing our creativity, we don't have a lot of happiness. We're just driven. It
Mm.
just, and then, I mean, there's so much about being able to speak our truth and also share our creative ideas and thoughts. And it all comes from the connection between the throat chakra and the sex chakra. And sometimes there's pain in there and memories of painful experiences that happened long ago that might be blocking us. And it's to our advantage to dig those up and work it out and get free so that everything flows throughout the whole body. We're not just talking heads. We're really, especially women, we're so embodied. And for us to like cut a piece off or say, that's not important, yeah, just doesn't work.
Yeah, we feel so much and we can shift from feelings pretty quickly too, from one feeling to the next.
Exactly. But sometimes we're stuck. I mean, when I was in anger, I was stuck. I had one speed. Like you could turn my switch on and my switch was like, I'm angry. Oh, I'm angry. Oh, I'm angry. And when I got to the bottom of that, there were so many other feelings, fear, pain, disappointment, joy, untold joy. And
Mm.
anger was like a layer covering everything, and it was really stuck there. I had to awaken my sexuality in a
Mm.
way that allowed the anger to come up and be fully expressed, not at someone, but just expressed.
So what does it mean? I love this. Let's dive just a little bit, one layer deeper into the work that you do with people
Mhm.
because, there's such a variety of people in terms of their experiences. And some of my audience is going to be all in and interested and leaning in right now. Like, how do you do this? How do you awaken? And then others are going to be like, that is too private for me. Right. And then there's going to be some people like way in between. So I'm just curious, can you explain a little bit and maybe lift a layer of fear around this kind of work?
Well, I'll try. I mean, I have to go against, centuries of religion. Um,
Mm.
and parents, making us guilty and wrong.
Yeah.
Um, if we, so this is my body, and whoever you are listening to this, that's your body. It's yours. It's like a thing that you have. It's recently I heard somebody say that we're a body inside of a soul, like having a soul experience. So that's a kind of new one for me. Usually I experienced or I thought of the soul being inside me, but maybe it is outside of me. Anyway, this physical thing that I have that I own is is surrounded in skin. It's the largest sensory organ. If we weren't meant to have feelings and sensations and feel pleasure, we would have been born in a different substance like wood, metal, or glass. But and those are all organic, but we were born in skin. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that we are sentient beings. And people can be as private as they want. I don't need to intervene in their privacy. I just have some ideas about things they could do in their private lives to help them feel, to help them experience the full sensation, like the full spectrum of what it is they can experience if they choose to. And people also have the right to say no. That's a whole nother thing we weren't taught. Then that no is a complete sentence. So they can go as far as they want, or in the timeline that they want, or in as much privacy as they want. And make no mistake that I teach big classes of 50, 60 people at a time, exploring all of this. And with some people who have never set foot in a class about sexuality before, like they just come. They attend, I mean, I don't want to mix it up with the they don't all
I have
come.
like I say sometimes I have a 12-year-old boy sense of humor. So like the
Yeah.
little things make me laugh. So good. So could you give me an example of somebody who came in who was same thing, like at first time, and then how did what they, did with you, the work they did with you, the work they did with them, and their
Well,
life change their happiness?
yeah. Um, There are two major pieces that I work with people on. One is boundaries and consent. We spend a lot of time looking at boundaries and consent and making sure that somebody is very clear about what's a yes and what's a no. And when they're not clear about it, then it's a no. Like maybe doesn't count in the world of sexuality. It really doesn't count. If someone's a maybe, they're a no until they're a
Good
yes.
one.
And
Yeah.
maybe they're never a yes. That's up to them. So that's one. First of all, we work on boundaries. Second of all, I work a lot. I've been known in the world as the queen of emotional release. I work with people a lot with working on emotions. And so we charge the body up, and then I have people work on emotions, whether the emotion is present or not. Like if
Mm.
somebody has anger, like I had anger, it doesn't mean that something just happened. It means that I stored it for a very long time and finally I'm letting it out so that it doesn't have me anymore, that I actually have it. It's different when an emotion has somebody like fear. Fear grips someone and they're unable to move forward or do something or challenge something. That's when fear has them. They don't have fear. Fear has them.
Mm.
And so anger had me. Some people, shame has them. Like it owns them. It's almost like it puts a layer over everything that they are and everything that they do, even though it's a taught emotion, shame. It's not really a real emotion. It's given to us as a gift by those who seek to control us.
Yeah. Wow.
So those are places that I go first with somebody. Like, where are you at with being able to say yes and no in your life to anything? And then where are your emotions and are they current? Are
Mm.
they, are you in the present, or is there something pulling you back to say, wow, you got stuck here in this one wasn't expressed fully, and it's got you. And it's layering everything.
Yeah. I have a Facebook group and I recently changed the name of it to Women Aging Gracefully. And there's some, words after that. And I asked people recently, I asked people in the community, the women, I said, what do you think ages women? And quite a few of the answers were around people pleasing or other people. Um, so I have a feeling this is kind of, you know, if women are having people pleasing issues and thinking that their happiness and their aging is because of other people, I bet you could help them.
Mm.
I bet this kind of work is important to them. Is that true?
It is.
Okay. I just thought of that. I was like, oh my gosh, like they all need you.
People pleasing is so it's not authentic. I'm sorry. I just have to blurt it out. If
Yeah.
what I'm doing is simply to please someone else or others, where do I come in? And is that question generational? Like, does that really come from older women who didn't, who did, who follow the cultural script, and then they realize like, oh, well, I don't know what to do, what else to do in my life. I'm just really a people pleaser. Or what would happen if they break free? I suspect that under there, there's some unexpressed anger and resentment. Like, I can't do what I want to do. I have to always do what other people want. When I turned 50, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, that's the biggest thing for that birthday was I'm going to say whatever I want to say. I'm not going to worry about other people. I earned the right to say that my life is mine. And if some people get pissed off because I'm speaking my truth, so be it.
So be
And
it.
the funny thing is, I didn't really lose anybody.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I do hear this a lot, a lot of my clients in my movement school are, women who are in that kind of reinvention space in their life. And I hear this a lot, like it's time for me. Like I am no longer, people pleasing. And one of the first things I often will teach them is to stop saying sorry. Oh, sorry. Because I'll hear them say like, oh, sorry. And I was
Oh,
like,
no.
if you're saying sorry to me here, it's happening everywhere. So, that was like a big lesson for me when I first started my journey. But I help them with this a lot. So, will you share a little bit about the opportunities you have coming up? What are these experiences like?
Hmm. Well, let me give a little background, which is when I met my husband, and then we were dating for almost 10 years, maybe 9 before we decided to get married. And we were sitting on a vacation somewhere and we said, why is this relationship different from any relationship that either of us have ever had before? And we started to annotate like this and this, and we really speak our truth to each other. We don't hold back. We do rituals. We have a way of communicating without fear of anything. And then our lovemaking was very different. And I'm a tantric woman. I've been in the field of tantra for 25 years or more, and I didn't ever meet anyone who touched me the way he touched me. And we laughed about it. I said, how did you learn how to touch a woman? You're not like the guys that I hang out with who are supposed to know something, and you touched me differently. He said, I Googled it. And
I
I
love
just
it.
cracked up. So we wrote this all out, and then we started to at first we started to attempt to work with men, because we thought women talk about sex with each other,
Mm,
especially if they have a glass of wine or something. They start talking about it, but men, they don't have really anywhere that they talk about it, and they don't learn anything from each other except through porn. They learn through porn, they think, and
right.
porn is not educational. it's entertainment, but it isn't educational. So we started to, we found it was very difficult to appeal to men to come to class. Men were like, I got this. That's
Mm,
because that's what men are supposed to say.
yeah.
I got this. And we expect that they get it, but they often they don't, and women tolerate a lot. Like
Mm.
women put up with horrible sex, horrible touch, because they love someone, but they're afraid to hurt their ego often. I'm making big
Yeah,
generality.
totally makes sense.
So
I think
we
the
start,
historical, you can see it even in like film, you know.
yeah, and it's this people pleasing thing. If I tell him he did a bad job, he'll go away forever and no one will ever touch me again. And so I won't tell him how bad he is. So Michael, my husband, did a study of 300 people. He did a survey and he surveyed, uh, he said if number 10 out of 10 is a great sexual experience, how much of the time in your life have you had it? Have you experienced a 10? Men said 30%.
Mm.
And women said, are you ready? Drum roll. Brrr, two.
Oh,
2% is a 10 experience. So, so we said,
oh my God.
who isn't telling the truth here? And also, men think they're doing better than they actually are. And so we surveyed them for some other things as well. But anyway, we decided to start to work with couples. So what I have coming up is our couples retreat. We have a couples experience and a couples retreat.
Mm.
Um, One is coming up in the Denver Boulder area, May 1st to 4th,
Mm.
which is the experience. And then we have an elongated session of that coming up May 28th to June 3rd in Greece,
Oh,
outside of Athens. And it's the same exact content, just one is more crammed into 4 days and one is spread out over 7 days, so it's more luxurious and there's a there's some rest in between and there's some sightseeing and stuff like that.
cool.
And then so that's those are both coming up. And then we have um we're doing one for singles because singles have told us that when they meet somebody who they think is a potential,
Mm.
like this could be my person, they don't want to screw it up. Like they'd
Mm.
like to have meaningful conversations that lead to something
Yeah.
that can make a difference. Like that. So we're having a singles one also in Denver, Boulder the next weekend. So I think it's the 8th to the 11th of May.
Oh, I love this. This is so good. So,
I
I
know,
think
right in your backyard.
this is right in my backyard.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of Colorado. I have a lot of Colorado colleagues and friends. So we'll make sure to let people know the opportunities here. We're going to put the links in the comments. I love this. I just want to point out, like, if you're single, um, do this so you don't make the same mistakes again.
Exactly. We used to have the groups mixed. We used to do it with singles and couples, but couples got a little threatened. There was
Oh,
a little flirties going on, with somebody, with someone's husband or someone's wife. So we decided to do them separately. And for a while now, for the past few years, we've only been focusing on couples, but so many of our single people, friends and otherwise, like database loyal followers have said, can you just do this for singles so we can get it right the first time?
it's a great, great, great one. Yep, that's so good. I love it. Okay. All right, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, is if there was one thing you were to share with the world about sex and happiness, what would it be?
One thing. I guess I'd say you, whoever you are, I and you, we get to have the best pleasure in our lives. It's connected. Pleasure, like sexual pleasure, is connected to happiness. And it's our right. It's our, like, pleasure is our birthright.
Mm,
And I said it before, we were born in skin. So why it's connected again is because it's our expression of creativity. And that's what makes us human. I mean, there's a lot of other animals with tremendous brain functions, but they don't have the same ability as the frontal cortex of a human. So
mm,
my creativity gets to be all over the place. I get to write books, I get to dance, I get to design clothing, I get to have fabulous conversations with people like you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
dolphins just don't really have that. I love them and they're creative animals and they have really great brain function and they can communicate, but they haven't designed cars and computers and
Right.
Zoom and all these things. So my sexuality and your sexuality has so much to do with that. Like that's where creation happens. And humans were made to create more than babies.
Mm. That was a beautiful, beautiful wrap up. I think everybody needs to hear that. I'm going to make sure, to share this across everybody, all the platforms. Any last words for us? Because that was just so epic. I don't even know. I will say we'll put all your links to your events and everything.
Thank
I'd
you.
love to also share. You're the author of a couple books, so we can share that with the
Can I
people.
show? I mean, I could show them.
Yes.
I can just
Yes, absolutely. So if somebody can't come to your events live, perhaps they can.
my first book. It's a little glowy. Sex and
Beautiful.
Happiness, the Tantric Laws of Intimacy. Does it come? It comes out backwards, huh? And this
No, it
is
looks good on my side.
and this is the other Sex and Happiness. It gets
Oh,
better with age. So these are my two. This one's not so glossy. These are
well,
my
that's
two bestsellers. They can also see. I have films. They can watch one of my feature films on
okay.
YouTube.
Okay.
I have a film called Tantric Tourists, which is where I take a whole bunch of tourists to India. And it's a really fun and funny. It's a great evening with popcorn. I just want to say to you that if people are in couples, I know that it's difficult for two people to enroll in something together. One wants to and the other one doesn't, and it's like
Mm,
that. I'm not going to say which one, because it's never the same. But couples, my partner and I, my husband and I think that couples are an endangered species. There is no support anywhere for couples. And so we really,
yeah.
if if you're if you have some resentments, if you have some resistance to each other, but if you wait too long and then you go to couples therapy, like it's almost over.
Yeah.
So come to see us before that time. Come to reignite your spark and have passion and have wonderful communication. That's what I
Mm.
I want to tell people.
Yes, it's wise. Don't wait till the house is on fire
Exactly.
before you turn off the stove.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I love this. I want to give kudos to you. I'm going to share some experience here. I have provided a lot of high ticket business coaching over the years to people since 2017, and many of my clients have been relationship coaches or coaches who help people in that area of some sorts. And I'll say to them, I say, if you're in front of an audience and you ask them how many people like raise your hand if you know five really amazingly healthy couples. Almost nobody's going to raise their hand.
Really?
Well, no, because most people don't know very many healthy couples because there aren't that many. Like you said, it's endangered species.
Yes.
There aren't that many, and I'm going to go just a little bit, energetic here, woo woo, or what I consider more mathematical. But astrologically, Gen X is Pluto and Libra generation, which is redefining relationships. And so one of our number one challenges as a generation is relationships. Like we're not that great at it. We might have a few people we know who have a good relationship. It's not like nobody, but it's fewer and far between. And even ones that are together for a long time aren't necessarily happy, you know. So I love this work you're doing, and it really touches my heart because I think about also, families growing up in these homes. I grew up
Oh,
with this single mom, and then I had a stepdad, and and stuff, and then he became my adopted dad, so but it wasn't like that. I never saw a happy relationship. They weren't happy. No, I never grew up with a happy relationship. I had to look to friends' parents for even some sort of happy relationship. So I
mm.
think this work is even beyond like the sex and the happiness. I mean, if mom and dad are happy in the bedroom, I have a feeling dinner will be happy and everything as well.
I
Yeah.
think so. I really do think so. And I feel like many of us are looking for the most important relationship in our life, and we don't really get any skills.
Mm,
So Michael and I are trying to fill in those skills of how you do it. Yeah. Because I mean, we don't have time, but my main rant is about happily ever after and Walt Disney brainwashing us into thinking that we could live happily ever after when we never learned anything about being able to do that.
wow.
So,
Oh, I
yeah,
love this, Laura, because I'm all about like people will say, "Oh, just get present," and I'm like, but nobody teaches you how. And so I'm like,
we
I'm
do.
all about like systems and strategies and techniques and tools and methodologies. I really am
We
because
do.
it empowers people to be able to actually do the thing that they want to do. So your work is amazing. I would
Thank
say
you.
probably I would say mm, two-thirds of Gen Xers at least need you, uh, and many more beyond our generation.
Thank you.
Anybody who is older, like a lot of my clients are in their 60s. I actually have a client who I worked with at one time who was, just starting to date for the first time after decades of not dating. And so, I helped her just kind of navigate a little bit of that beginning part. And I hadn't really thought about it until she came to me and asked for help. And so I think if you want to work with the expert, if you want to get her books, come to her events, follow her on social media, watch her movie, we'll put all the links in the comments. Lori, thank you
Yeah.
so much for all your wisdom. I appreciate it.